أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, both all of you who are joining today and also all of you who are listening on our YouTube channel. I pray you and your families are well, and I'm very honored and very pleased to be with you all. I want to thank you all for giving out of your precious time once more to be part of this Futuwwah Academy Study Circle. Today's the last session of reading this book of our beloved teacher, Sheikh Imam Dawud Walid. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him and strengthen him. And we've been very honored to read his amazing book. And we're forever indebted to him and all of our teachers and shuyukh, both in our tradition, in our past, and also in our presence. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve them all as sources of wisdom and hikmah for all of us to benefit from, inshaAllah. From the whole behalf of the Futuwwah Academy of Sacred Manhood and Sacred Womanhood, we are indebted to Imam Dawud Walid's pioneering work in this contemplative era. I also want to thank all of our teachers, all of the shuyukh who instilled Futuwwah in all of us on a daily basis. And I want to thank you all, my beloved brothers and sisters, for joining throughout all these sessions we had. It's almost 4 months that we've been reading this book together on a weekly basis. And just to listen to all of your reflections, all of your thoughts, all of your ideas, all of your interpretations and suggestions has been, for me, nurturing. It's been a source of wisdom and spiritual rectification. It's also been a source of really being mindful of our own needs of instilling Futuwwah in our character and character reformation. So I want to thank you all, my beloved brothers and sisters, for giving out of your precious time to be with us and to share your experiences and expertise in such an excellent way. I also want to thank all of my colleagues in ISIP, the International Students of Islamic Psychology, and the Futuwwah Academy of Sacred Manhood and Sacred Womanhood for your khidmah and amazing service and servitude. Sister Fatima, thank you so much for being with us throughout the sessions. Also to Brother Shuaib, and also to Sister Dania and Sister Mediha and Sister Fatima Ahmed and Brother Muhammad and Brother Ahmed and many other who are active within the Futuwwah Academy of Sacred Manhood and Sacred Womanhood and the ISIP. I'm forever grateful for all of you and for your service and khidmah, and may Allah Azza wa Jal accept it from all of you. My beloved brothers and sisters, this is our final session. This is the khatm of this book of Imam Dawud Walid. And it's the conclusion chapter that we're going to read. And essentially today it's about one question: how do we move forward from this? Now we have jointly read the whole entire book. We've been having a lot of text reflections. We try to systematize our approach when it comes to Futuwwah. We're trying to ground ourselves epistemologically, ontologically, philosophically, psychologically, and first and foremost spiritually into understanding the concept of Futuwwah and how it's conceptualized. We try to understand what is the virtues of Futuwwah. How did our traditional scholars embrace Futuwwah? And also, in a sense, we tried through our discussions also in the WhatsApp group to break it down into different parts that we could look at as part of a holistic whole, and the way that we can build the Futuwwah curriculum, which is a joint on the war that we're all partaking in. So the question is, what do we do now? How do we move forward? So that this is not only reading for the sake of ourselves, which is important, by the way, it's also reading for the sake of building this movement, building this community, building this suhbah, building this harakat, and in a sense, reviving the Futuwwah guilds into this contemporary era as a solution for the dismantling of masculinity and manhood, and in that femininity and womanhood as well. And this is the ambition of the Futuwwah Academy of Sacred Manhood and Sacred Womanhood. And thanks to the blessings of our teachers and shuyukh, such as Imam Dawud Walid, we have received the permission to build this movement, and we want to connect with other Futuwwah initiatives, build the resource sharing hub, but also to establish Futuwwah academies and Futuwwah guilds all over the world. So this is the question that I'm throwing out here for all of us to reflect upon throughout the session. And after the session, we will open up the WhatsApp group immediately so that we can continue the discussion. All right. So bring this question to you all. How can we build the Futuwwah curriculum? How can we establish Futuwwah guilds? Which methodology? How can we ground it in the readings that we have done so far? How can we finance this type of initiatives, collectively? And yeah, and we will continue even after the book reading is over. And just so you guys are mindful about the fact that this is not only a book club and a study circle, it's also a study circle and a book club that leads to something bigger than just reading, which is establishing and taking actions. And that's what we want to do with you all. And you all are most welcome to join the Futuwwah Academy. This is your academy, this is your movement, and this is your organization. And all of your inputs are highly appreciated. All right. In the end, I'm going to also tell you a little bit about what we will do moving forward, which projects we have going on, and how you guys can be involved, inshallah. All right. Let's start the reading, inshallah. Let me start to share my screen. Just 1 second. All right. Do you guys see my screen, dear brothers and sisters?
Yes, we can.
All right. All right. Jazakallah khairan. So conclusion. Futuwwah guilds needs to be established in all localities in which Muslims reside in significant numbers. And that's the whole idea of the Futuwwah Academy of Sacred Manhood and Sacred Womanhood, is to revive the Futuwwah guilds and to establish them all over the world through the nasiha and guidance of Imam Dawud Walid and other excellent scholars. So this is our ambition, inshallah. And part of that is to have one foundational understanding of what is Futuwwah, which we have tried to have through our readings. All right, conclusion. Who would like to start the reading?
I would if nobody else is available, brother.
All right, Brother Rashid. We always miss you. So please go ahead.
Last week I was at another meeting, that's why I couldn't make it. Anyway,
Go.
this book was in conclusion. This book was intended to be a supplemental text related to the raising of young males to be chivalrous men according to select Islamic spiritual precepts. It was not meant to take the place of qualified teachers and guides who have sat with the predecessors, who are connected to chains of transmission from which they learned noble, manly compartment and the spiritual science of the purification of the heart. I did not elucidate on matters of theology or creed in this book, although such matters are extremely important. Moreover, I only touched on a few aspects that related to Islamic sacred law. This was intentional, not by omission. Part of the crises of manhood in the West in general, not just with Muslims, stems from the erosion of manners and the diminishment of noble traits of character that are the foundation of ethics. Hence, I was more concerned with highlighting examples of beautiful comportment in speech and actions for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which some may categorize as virtue ethics.
Thank you so much, Brother Rashid. Thank you for
Shukran.
reading such an excellent way. Shukran jazeelan. Jazakallah khairan. So here Imam Dawud Walid is telling us about why he wrote this book. It's not to be mistaken as a thing that could, like by reading this book doesn't mean that we should not read other Islamic sciences for sure. And it's not meant to take the place of qualified teachers. And we have now, throughout our readings, understood the importance of having qualified teachers and guides and murabbis. So it's more to instill the essence of understanding what the Futuwwah is and how we can revive it, right? And he speaks about it as virtue ethics, right? What he says here, which I think is very important, is that the matters of theology and creed is very important indeed, even though the focus has not been on this in this book at least. Also Sharia and sacred law, obviously. And then he speaks about the crisis of manhood in the West as an erosion of manners and a diminishment of noble traits of character, right? Which you can find in the ethics of Islam, in the akhlaq tradition. So let's reflect. We have now finalized our readings, right? So what can we use, dear brothers and sisters, from this book and from the Futuwwah Guild tradition as a means to raise young males and young females into sacred manhood and sacred womanhood? What can we learn? How can we integrate other Islamic sciences as well? And why is it important to have a foundation in ethics before you start your journey in ilm and knowledge and inquiry? Any thoughts or reflection, dear brothers and sisters? Please go ahead.
Sorry, may I say something?
Yeah, of course, Brother Rashid. Go ahead.
Okay, I just like to comment on this part here where it says part of the crises of manhood in the West in general, not just Muslims, stems from the erosion of manners and the diminishment of noble traits of character that are the foundation of ethics. And I'd like to say that in this respect, it's very important that our children who are watching Western television programs where manners are not like in the Islamic world. For example, in the Islamic world, if there's somebody older than us, we say uncle or mister or whatever. Whereas in the Western world in general, they do not say that. They call them, even if there's an elderly person and a young child, they call them by their first name. Secondly, in the West, generally on television programs, you find that they try to normalize and legitimize things which are alien to Islamic culture. For example, homosexuality, men marrying men, dating, drinking of alcohol, and things like these, where therefore it is very important for us as parents and grandparents to try and keep our children away from these kind of things and introduce them to some other television programs which are Islamic in nature. Jazakallah khairan.
Jazakallah khairan, Brother Rashid. I agree with you 100%. I think we need to create an alternative. We need to build our own quote to quote Hollywood. And don't interpret me wrongly, brothers and sisters. I'm very critical towards Hollywood. Hollywood is also connected to Zionist agendas and also capitalistic and colonial agendas. And there is a very interesting book about the power of Hollywood that I recommend you guys to read. I'll share the link in the WhatsApp group later. How the movie industry in the West is shaping our minds with regards to dehumanization of people around the world, specifically the people of the colonized world. Nevertheless, we need to build our own movies. And Imam Dawud Walid speaks about Ertugrul in the end of this chapter and how Ertugrul actually allowed a lot of youths to really feel proud of our tradition and also feeling proud of Islamic chivalry. Even though Ertugrul doesn't specifically speak about Futuwwah, it instills this notion of sacred aspect of how you become a man, which I think is very important. So we need to own these medias and create our own alternatives instead of just exposing our youths to alternatives which will bring them astray from Futuwwah, right? I think also the crisis of manhood in the West and also all over the world is connected to a lot of different societal shifts, and some of them Brother Rashid touched upon. For instance, as we know and as we discussed throughout all of our reading, dear excellent brothers and sisters, a lot of liberal ideologies, feminism, liberalism, secularism, frames masculinity as a root for most societal problems, right? And this leaves a lot of men and males confused about their roles nowadays. And now women also relate to the role of manhood, right? And I think part of that is that we need to have a sociological understanding of the situation, dear brothers and sisters. For instance, how has industrialization and long working hours disconnected a lot of men from their families, right? Because historically, the men used to work quite close to the house, and every time it was a break, they went back to the home to eat with their families. If you were into agriculture, you were harvesting your crops quite close to your home, right? And if you traveled, maybe you traveled for 3 weeks, 3 months, and then you came back and you were with your family for long times or periods. And this disconnection has really left a lot of homes without male role models, and also a lot of high unemployment rates has also undermined a lot of men to become breadwinners, which is part of our fitri nature as men. So you can also see, for instance, the institutionalization, right? The institutionalization of caregiving, which we see particularly in the West, where the kindergartens and schools are taking over the family's role of giving caregiving to the children, There we can also find lack of male role models because the majority of the teachers are, for instance, women, and nothing wrong with that because we really appreciate all women doing an amazing job as teachers. But there is lack of male role models, for instance, in schools, and this has also further then minimized and diminished, I would say, the man's presence as tarbiyah givers, giving tarbiyah, which is essential, right? So modernity has dismantled a lot of the traditional roles and also the rites of passages, by the way, dear brothers and sisters, right? We believe that Futuwwah needs rites of passages, and that's something we're going to speak about. And this has left a vacuum in many ways that are then filled by toxic ways of bringing yourself to some form of masculinity. For instance, gangs, street gangs, that in many ways exploit the fitri male need for belonging and also social cohesion and initiation and bring them astray. So I think that liberalism and also the breaking down of the nucleus of the family and the traditional family structures has really broken the foundation of bringing and instilling responsibility and virtue amongst males and young men and men generally. And we know that through the liberal ideologies, masculinity is very much vilified, isn't it, brothers and sisters? And this puts a lot of men astray without a clear path towards sacred manhood. So I think it's important that we reflect upon these societal changes that affects us also from a sociological, psychological, but obviously first and foremost spiritual point of view. Any other reflections, brothers and sisters? You can also write in the chat. All right, khair. We'll continue reading, and inshallah, there will be more opportunities for discussions and text reflection, inshallah. Who would like to continue to read, dear excellent brothers and sisters? Sister Hadid, please go ahead. You're muted, sister. If you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now. Go ahead, sister.
Okay. Where did you reach? I do not see
Beautiful
it.
compartment. Here,
Oh,
page
okay.
141.
Okay. Beautiful compartment, however, cannot be learned exclusively from any book. It is something that is learned from the lived experiences of men whose spiritual states exude an embodiment of noble manliness. Part
Thank
of
you, sister. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just want us to reflect upon this part. Then you can continue reading, sister, inshallah. So here, there's something important. What Imam Dawud says here is something with beautiful comportment cannot be only learned by reading books. We need lived experience. So my question to all of you, brothers and sisters, is why is it so important with experiential knowledge and a bottom-up approach towards embodiment of Futuwwah? Why is that important?
Can I try to reflect on that?
Yeah, of course, Sister Adil. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that as we know, like the Quran has been transmitted orally, and it has been said that it's transmitted through the chest of people, and I think of men, and I think this is very important. Like we need it. Like there is something about being transmitted orally and from the chest of people, so the transmission would have been more effective. I guess there is something different when it's being transmitted in that way.
Yeah, mashallah. That's great reflection, Sister Hadi. Thank you so much for sharing. Mashallah, mashallah. Yes, Brother Rashid, go ahead.
Yes, what I'd like to say is that I'll just read it again and then reflect on it. Beautiful comportment, however, cannot be learned exclusively from any book. That means the way one carry themselves about in their day-to-day life cannot be learned only from books, although you can learn some things. More important, that it is something that it is learned from the lived experience of men whose spiritual states exude an embodiment of noble manliness. For example, children in the house seeing their parent, whether it's a father or a mother, doing something, for example, praying. The child sees the father or the mother praying, they will pray. If they don't see them praying, the chances of them wanting to pray, even though they may be told to pray, will be very, very slim. And that is why experience is so important. They see their parent eating with their right hand. they will eat with the right hand. Even a left-handed child, when they see their parent eating with the right hand and the parent constantly and continuously telling them, okay, it's okay to write with the left hand, but when you eat, you should eat with the right hand. And these are examples of where you have to live experiences to have an embodiment of noble manliness or womanliness in this case. Jazakallah khairan.
Jazakallah khairan, Brother Rashid, for your excellent
Can I
remarks.
say something?
Yes, of course. I just wanted to comment. Yes, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead. I just want to comment on Brother Rashid, and yes, then you can go ahead. I think what you're saying, Brother Rashid, is fundamental because it's kind of like mirroring. The importance of mirroring, the importance of social conditioning, and that we become the sources of that, both to influence ourselves and others. And that experiential knowledge is something that is bottom up. You learn through practice, and then you can connect the practice to theory. So it's about grounding yourself in a sense. Yes, go ahead, Rasikh.
Yeah, just to take Brother Rashid's point forward, some of our teachers say that there are three levels of knowledge. The first being when you read in a newspaper or something, like that an accident has happened. And the second one is, I think the second one is called ilmul yaqeen, where you actually see an accident happening, which I think is referring to an experiential element, which what you spoke about. And the third being the haqqul yaqeen, where you are inside the car and you actually experience, like the accident happening, and no amount of knowledge can give you that like seeing somebody really embody it, or like being that person experiencing it. I think it's the highest level of any knowledge, I guess. Thank you.
Mash. Jazakallah khairan, brother, for your excellent remarks. Yes, ilm al-yaqeen is the highest. And how do we reach ilm al-yaqeen? That was beautiful, structured by you, brother, also. If you can share that in the WhatsApp group after our session today, I would really appreciate it so we can reflect upon it more thoroughly. That's great, brother. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. Any other thoughts? How do you guys do that in your daily life, by the way? All of you who are parents, for instance, we have a lot of mothers and fathers here. Or if you're a teacher, how do you utilize this type of experiential knowledge? Anybody who would like to share? Okay, cool. Okay, Sister Espia, go ahead.
Yes, brother. So I'm a mother and a teacher too. So I used to teach, like I'm on a break now. So I used to teach social studies in my school, where it is, where it is like the subject is divided into three parts, where there's this history, and there's this political science, and there's this geography. So what I used to do is, history is a kind of a thing where, it's like children are, especially, children, they get bored of history. If you just give that traditional type of teaching to them, they really get bored of it. So what I used to do is I used to show them some realistic animations or something like that, which is like on YouTube, or create my own PowerPoints or something like that, educational aids, so that they really get interest in watching, and that will have a long term impact to remember as well. Because when you do this type of teaching, like traditionally just opening the book and teaching them, it doesn't have that much of impact on them and on their memory actually. So these type of aids, when you show them these things, the events and everything live, they tend to have this in their memory, and it works good for them. And political science is something, if you teach and if you just say it, they'll remember it. But history is a thing where you have to actually show them, and have some practical exposure to retain all those topics in their mind. So that's how live things have an impact on them. And personally, me also, I've read Sira many times, alhamdulillah, but I tend to forget things. When I reread, I'll feel like I'm reading it for the first time. So I watched this. I don't know if you all know about the Umar series.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
most
yeah.
of them know. Yeah.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
I have watched this Umar series, and Alhamdulillah, even the minute of things, I know of the details now because I have watched it. uh, though I have read the Sira, but this the memory what I have and the knowledge what I have gained, I think it's more of when I've watched the series. So it's very important to have few things to be live and watchable, so that it has an deep root in your memory. So this is what I wanted to say.
MashaAllah, Sister Askia, thank you for sharing your excellent experiences as a teacher, as a mother. It's very valuable for us. Yeah, that's an amazing series. It's like Ertugrul, isn't it? The series of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu is great. It's very accurate, and I think I also watched it, by the way, with my daughter, and she really enjoyed it. So it's really good. MashaAllah. Thank you. And we should create more of these things. I would really recommend you guys, Sister Asfia, maybe you can lead a task force in Futuwwah Academy where we can build like games, Futuwwah games, board games, quizzes, And because you're a teacher, you have a lot of, pedagogical experience. So that will be amazing. So inshallah, we
Sure,
will
brother. Inshallah.
invite you.
Inshallah.
Inshallah,
Sure.
inshallah. We are very action-oriented, brothers and sisters. We want to do something with all of our ideas,
Yes.
inshallah. That's
Inshallah.
important,
Inshallah.
inshallah. Jazakallah khairan, sister. Yes, Brother Rashid, you raised your hand again. Go ahead.
Yes, what I'd like to say, in as far as learning is concerned, it is said that if you hear something or you see something, you may remember some of it. If you hear it and see it, you may remember more of it. If you hear it, see it, and say it and repeat it, you usually would learn more of something. Jazakallah khairan.
MashaAllah, Brother Rashid, you have so many gems. I want to do like infographics in Futu Academy and add a lot of your beautiful quotes, Brother, mashallah. I really agree with what you're saying. That's amazing. Please write that in the WhatsApp group afterwards, inshallah. By the way, brothers and sisters, please today take some time to engage in the WhatsApp group. This is our khatm of this book, so I really want us to have good discussions. I will personally engage myself as well, inshallah. All right, brothers and sisters, let's continue reading, inshallah. I think Brother Ahmed has written something in the chat. Let me read. Safura is writing, Salam alaikum, wa alaikum salam, dear sister. An honor to have you with us. Brother Ahmed is writing, O Master, do not claim I am I, for I am not I, nor am I me. If you are you and I am I, then I am not I, nor am I me. Subhanallah. Is that from Rumi, Brother Ahmed?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. Maybe I think it's from Rumi or Hafiz. I was not sure about
Yeah,
this.
maybe
So,
Hafiz, yeah. It sounds Rumi or
yeah,
Hafiz. MashaAllah. Yeah.
Hafiz. Yeah, maybe both of them have some like write in the similar manner,
Yeah.
the both poem. So I was about our discussion here. So it's been like more than 3 weeks, 4 weeks I have attending, and Alhamdulillah, at the ending part, I am there, not at the starting point. So, like at my recent realization is here that we are seeing all the governments around us, Taliban, like in Syria, in Afghanistan, in USA, like Trump, the leaders, everybody. So I was saying, like, as our heart is the place of Ruh, now we don't see any Islamic, like, where will be like there should be nothing other than words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. But we can see it only through the people, and that people are very specific. So we should make ourselves, our heart, the government of our heart should be the government of Allah, the kingdom of Allah. There are simple rules that we have to follow, like 5 times daily prayers, zakat, hajj, rosa. It's very easy. I don't know, at this era, it's become so hard. It took us long. It took us very long time, like more than 20, 15 years to just understand this, because we were too much busy in this world. Our lords were many. The God we worship was governments, was people. Sometimes we made ourselves God, and we forget who we are. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is realizing us through his signs, through his mercy, that nothing lasts other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah.
Jazakallah khairan, Brother Ahmed, for your excellent remark. I love what you said. The government of our heart should be Allah. That's a beautiful quote. We would love to quote you as well, Brother Ahmed. You brought so many gems into our text reflections. Thank you for joining us. It's been such an honor to have you with us. And all of you, my beloved brothers and sisters. Let's continue the reading, inshallah. Sister Hadid, if you can continue, we would really appreciate
it. So, challenge of Muslims in the West is structures through which young
I think, sister, your connection is not that good. Could you close your camera, please, and try again? I think it will make the connection better.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead again.
Part of the challenge of Muslims in the West face is to invest in structures through which young males can learn some compartment through repeated interaction with living and breathing souls. This is true for youth who have fathers in their lives, but is even more necessary for the countless and growing number of young males who don't have the presence of fathers in their lives. Our priorities need to be reordered in regard to how we teach Islam to youth. Learning proper compartment must take priority before attempting to teach theology or the specifics of jurisprudential rulings. Imam Malik ibn Anas radiallahu anhu famously said to a fata from Quraysh, "O nephew, learn compartment before you attempt to learn sacred knowledge." And it was said, the intellectual without compartment is like a brave warrior without a weapon. The intellect and compartment are like the spirit. A body without a spirit is a lifeless form, and a spirit without a body is wind.
You can continue.
Shall I continue? Okay.
Yeah.
Imam Zayd ibn Ali ibn al-Hasan ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu also stated, "O man, be a brother of compartment, whether you are from non-Arabs or Arabs. Surely the fata is he who says he has a compartment. The fata is not he who says that he refuses it." Again, my
Jazakallah khair. In such a way, Sister Hadid. We really appreciate it. A lot of important things here. And Imam Dawud Walid, first, he tried to emphasize that when we teach or study Islamic sciences, let's start by studying akhlaq and virtues and the ethics of virtues and comportment. He doesn't say that theology is not important, Sharia is not important, Aqidah is not important. These are all crucial. But he says we need to start there. And then he quotes Imam Malik ibn Anas radiallahu anhu. He quotes this other quote. I don't know exactly what the source is, but I really like this quote. The intellectual without comportment is like a brave warrior without a weapon. So if you don't have a weapon and you're brave, you're gonna die. So you need to have a weapon, isn't it? If you're in if you're doing a just, if you're in a just battle, and the intellect and comportment are like the spirit, right? A body without a spirit is a lifeless form, exactly, right? It's just a jasad, it's dead, and a spirit without a body is wind, yeah. So it's this balanced approach, right? So why is this important? Why is it important to have comportment as the foundation in our Futuwwah curriculum and see it as this sequential procedure? And also maybe we can reflect upon this as part of us together building this curriculum. Yes, Brother Rashid, go ahead.
Okay, what I'd like to say that where it says learning proper comportment must take priority before attempting to teach theology or the specifics of jurisprudential rulings. In this respect, I'd like to say that comportment means how one carries oneself about and how one interacts with others in life in general. So it is more important for us to learn how to carry oneself about now how we eat, how we speak, how we interact with others, before we even think of learning theology. Because if we don't know how to interact correctly, Islamically, properly, then trying to then learn theology is akin to throwing pearls to swine. They're not going to be able to use the pearls.
Yeah. That's so true, Brother Rashid. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate it. It's ihsan, isn't it? Like if we reflect upon the Hadith Jibreel, Iman, Islam, ihsan. Ihsan is beauty, isn't it? And to bring both Jamali and Jalali traits in the way that we act as a way to reflect, sorry, as a way to reflect the prophetic Sunnah. The way you communicate. It's not about the content sometimes, it's about the concept. The content could be good, it could be sound, but if you don't conceptualize it in a good way with ihsan, or you communicated it in a good way with ihsan, then it might not be viewed as beautiful or internalized. People might reject. And I think we need to bring this into our dawah as well, the beauty aspect of communication. And that's why I think it's important to listen to what Imam Dawud says and emphasizes on comportment being the foundation. Of course, foundation is Qur'an and Sunnah, and this is something that Imam says all the time, but that comportment needs to be added to that. Yeah, I see a lot of things in the chat. Brother Rashid, you're writing, if you see something written, then you may remember some of it. If you see and hear something that is written, then you may remember even more. If you see, hear, or read aloud something that is written, then you may remember even more. Exactly, that was what you said. I was even taught by one of my teachers, Dr. Abdullah. He said to me that, Dr. Abdullah Ratman, he said to me that sometimes when you write with a pen, it's easier to learn than to write with like your computer or digital devices. It's also the way that we write and read that is crucial. Sister Nikat is writing, the focus on tazkiyah is critical component of noble manliness is particularly noteworthy. The refinement of character is not just an intellectual exercise, but a deeply spiritual underworld that demands introspection and guidance. I believe we need to invest in environments and structures that foster futuwwah. This involves creating spaces where young males, young Muslimas, who can witness and learn through their repetitive, meaningful interactions and actions with virtuous men and women. This also speaks to the responsibility of communities to actively nurture and sustain such initiatives. Yes, Sister Niqat. Thank you for your excellent remarks. That's exactly what we want to do in the Futuwwah Academy of Sacred Manhood and Sacred Womanhood. Actually, yesterday I had the honor to meet a beautiful brother from South Africa, Brother Ibrahim. He reached out to us actually through our YouTube channel. He was seeing that we're doing these circles of reading Imam's book, Imam Dawud's book. And he has been working with Futuwwah for over 10 years. And he's joined the Futuwwah Academy now. He's going to establish our South African chapter. Brother Rashid, I will connect you with Brother Ibrahim, inshallah. Nevertheless, we need to build these spaces. And they do like sacred archery on a weekly basis and a lot of other amazing activities for both young males and men. And we need to do this for both boys and girls and males and females and men and women. And we would appreciate you joining us, Sister Niqat, mashallah. We can do it in Australia with you, inshallah. That will be such an honor. Thank you for your remarks. Brother Tahir is writing, regarding your previous comment about experience, from my personal experience, theory become wisdom when embodied practically. It reminds me about a story I once heard about Aristotle, the student of Plato, who wanted people to learn philosophy at the age of 30, who was asked by a student to teach the truth. Aristotle took the student's head and dunked it in the water and was drowning him. He said, when you want the truth like you wanted the air right now, then come back asking the question again. Point being that we can learn something from that period, that life experience is crucial. Exactly. Often thank you, by the way, Brother Tahir, for sharing this amazing story of Aristotle. I mean, the Greeks were amazing people, amazing people. They were great thinkers. And that's why also, the European civilization need to thank the Muslim for preserving the Greek thought and reintroducing it into the European context. Because during the medieval era in Europe, they really burned all the Greek books and Muslim books because they were against intellectual curiosity. And this was from the church back then. Nevertheless, I think experiential knowledge is something we can refer to as why is it that we tend to learn when we do mistakes? Not that we should do mistakes intentionally, but when we do mistakes, we learn. Because Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah, he says that we learn things by its opposite. How can we know what is Jannah if we don't know what is Jahannam? How can we know what is sweet if we do not know what is sour? You see what I'm saying? So in a sense, by experiential knowledge, we learn both the truth sometimes, depending on if we're guided of righteous teachers or not, or also we learn the opposite, and then we can go back to the truth. So if you do a mistake with proper guidance, you can learn the truth from that, but you shouldn't do it intentionally, obviously. And also, we often tend to learn to not take things for granted when we go through trials and tribulations, isn't it, brothers and sisters? So, for instance, if we're always in a state of health, then we might take health for granted. But then when, trials strikes and you get, let's say, sick, then you suddenly see like, why did I take my health for granted? And then you try to reconnect to Allah and learn from maybe the hafla that you were in, and then you maybe change your diet, for instance. So it's important to always reflect upon this, and that it's good to have experiential experience as a way to understand the embodiment of knowledge and virtues. Thank you, Brother Tahir, for sharing this amazing text. Sister Niqat is writing, return to the principles of ihsan and adab, fostering a generation that upholds divine values in both personal and communal life. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. There's somebody who wrote if you don't use that annotation tool, dear brothers and sisters, I will appreciate it. All right. Let's continue the reading, brothers and sisters. So we'll start to read from, again, my comments. Who would like to read now, dear brothers and sisters? Yes, Sister Kafila, go ahead.
Where do I start? Assalamu alaikum.
Again, my comments. Again, my comment.
Again, my comments about the importance of comportment are not to downplay the necessity of learning sound theology and basic jurisprudential obligations. It is to say, however, that there can be no renewal of sacred manhood without this emphasis. Likewise, the importance of an orderly teaching of spiritual purification must be revived. In America in particular, there have been decades of dry inculcation of Islamic teachings as polemical theology, rigid interpretation of what constitutes heresy, blameworthy religious innovations, and telling stories about select historical Muslim personalities void of contemporary correlations, which are at times even discussed as historically exaggerated terms. The lack of spiritual connection in many Muslims who were raised in this limbo has led to the false spiritual connectivity through philosophies based outside Islam or based solely in individualistic feelings.
Jazakallah khairan, Sister Kafila, for reading in such excellent way. Here, it's a lot of important things that Imam Dawud, reflects upon. The lack of spiritual connection in many Muslims who were raised in this limbo, right? The compartmentalization of Islamic studies and Islamic teachings, the polemical ways of speaking about theology, for instance, or rigid interpretations that are not grounded in our tradition as Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And all these things has brought about a void in this contemporary era, right? So why is it important, dear brothers and sisters, to have a holistic understanding of Islam and Islamic teachings? So why is that important? As an antidote towards the reductionistic and compartmentalized ways. Any reflections about that? And why is it important to have perhaps a multiplex approach towards understanding Islam and our history as an accumulative process? And also to relate that to Islamic sciences and Islamic thought. And why is it important to be grounded in our tradition and at the same time deal with the contemporary challenges with a rooted revival perspective, you know? And where does this rigidity and polemic sentiment stem from? And how can we instill, for instance, notions such as adab al-ikhtilaf, and at the same time stand against the true threat of reductionistic views of Islam and the threat of the reformists who wants to reform Islam to something that suits the secular modern mind state as well? Yes, Brother Rashid, go ahead. Brother Rashid, go ahead. You raise your hand. Go ahead.
Apologies, I was muted. So I'd like to comment on this first part here. Again, my comments about the importance of comportment are not to downplay the necessity of learning sound theology and basic jurisprudential obligation. It is to say, however, there can be no renewal of sacred manhood without this emphasis. So just to go back to what was said earlier on, that the way one carries oneself around, the way one interacts with others, etc., is more important to be learned before one learns the jurisprudence and theology. Then the next part, likewise, the importance of an orderly teaching of spiritual purification must be revived. And he's commenting, probably because he's American, about America in particular. But of course, these things happen in other parts of the world also, what he's talking about. There have been decades of dry inculcation of Islamic teachings of polemical theology, rigid interpretation of what constitutes heresy, blameworthy religious innovation, and telling stories about select historical Muslim personalities devoid of contemporary correlation, which are at times even discussed in ahistorical, exaggerated terms. So what he's talking about here is, in the first part, there have been decades of dry inculcation of Islamic teachings as polemical theology and rigid interpretation of what constitutes heresy. Now, heresy, as we know, is where we try and say that something which is not really in accordance with the basic tenets of Islam are actually in accordance with the basic tenets of Islam. So he's also talking about bid'ah there, blameworthy religious innovation. So there's lots of that also carrying on at the same time in America and of course in the rest of the world also. And telling stories about select historical Muslim personalities void of contemporary correlation. So telling us stories about the Khulafa Rashidin, for example, without equating it to what is being experienced by us currently in the modern world, which is very important. No use just telling us about what happened then and leaving it in limbo. It's important to correlate it with what's happening in this world so that we can then learn from what happened in the past and apply it to the current situation. Jazakallah khairan.
Barakallahu fikum, beloved brother. Thank you for your reflections. I appreciate it. I think, as you say, it's important to differentiate also between bid'ah, which is a problem, and we need to be very much, be very mindful of that. There is blameworthy innovation that we take stands against as Muslims, but then we also have bid'ah hasana, which is something
Yes.
that Imam Shafi speaks about. And I think these are things that we need to reflect upon collectively, and also with our teachers and also with the youths. Also here, I think the reductionistic view is that we cannot study theory without application. We cannot understand one science within the sacred sciences of Islam without understanding the others as well. When our traditional scholars were, reflecting upon biology or psychology or philosophy, they were not only thinking about it as one science, they were thinking of biology as a way to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. So when Ibn Sina or Al-Farabi or Al-Kindi or all these great scholars of our tradition that were into medicine or into biology or into sociology, Ibn Khaldun, all these great scholars, they were not studying sociology or psychology just to understand psychology or sociology. They were always connecting that to Allah. And I think part of the problem of our contemporary era is the secularization of the curriculums, which is not only something that we see in the West, it's also within a lot of Islamic institutions as well. And it's not done mindfully. This was the project of the colonizers to actually secularize our institutions in a sense. So you have, for instance, in many places, religious studies, and then you have like secular studies. And that's a problem because there is no divide. Everything is religious studies. Even when you study biology, it's a religious study. Psychology is a religious study. Sociology, philosophy, etc., right? Chemistry. So we need to integrate this again because that's secularization. When you divide in this way, right? That's compartmentalization. And in that, to have akhlaq and adab, you know. Even the way that our traditional scholars refuted one another, they did it with akhlaq. They had ihsan. They were not just throwing people under the bus or canceling people the way that we see in this contemporary era. So how can we instill that? How can we have a holistic understanding of things? Whether it's through theory, practice theory, integrative approach towards studying different sciences. I think these are all important, and part of the Futuwwah curriculum is the 5 elements of Futuwwah, which we will discuss, which integrates the body, the soul, the senses, and it's also about speaking about the mind without, disconnecting it from the body or the soul, which is modern psychology, unfortunately, is very behavioral and also very cognitive driven. Allahu alam. Yes, Sister Asmiya, go ahead.
Yes, brother. I wanted to add to this point where you said that the teachings are like there are some Islamic institutions and there are this the mixture of both, like the secular thing and the Islamic. So where I used to teach, it was an Islamic school. Okay, and they used to follow this IGCSE curriculum, that is the UK curriculum, and it was beautifully designed. I really appreciate, because I've been teaching in many other curriculum schools, like in India there's CBSE, there's State Board, and there's ICSE, and so many other boards, and I have taught all the other boards. And when I entered this IGCSE curriculum, they have this liberty to choose the subjects, and they have a lot of liberty, where they have used this liberty in a very beautiful way. So when I talk about social, which I used to teach, it was like, it's not like you just have to teach out of the textbook line, just read it away and give the notes and certain things like that. But it was actually like integrated with Islamic studies. Like, for example, I'm teaching them geography, and I teach them about this Big Bang theory. What I was supposed to do there was I had to integrate it Islamically. Like, when I speak about Big Bang theory, of course, with all the scientific reference and other things, but I had to also go through the Quran and find out the ayah which has a relationship with that, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Big Bang theory. And there are many other things, many other, the creation and this concept of people coming from apes, and I felt so overwhelmed, because it's a sense of such a big responsibility, this subject. When you try to teach this history, we as if we don't know if it has really happened. It's such a responsibility, and if I teach them wrong, I am responsible for all those children who have been taught that way, and I have to bear all the responsibility and accountability of what I'm teaching to them. So it was, this school really had this liberty, that they actually integrated Islamic studies with social and science and all the other subjects. I think even in English, when they used to teach some stories, they used to integrate it with the stories of Sahabas and things. So I think this kind of initiations have to be taken more and more place, so that the children from the root, from the base, they get to understand what is science and how is it related, and how we connect it with the Quran and Sunnah. I think this is really important. And I also wanted to add about the bid'ah thing, because here in India, I think bid'ah is like, it comes from the culture. Now, there are so many things in our culture which actually people think that it is a part of Sunnah, it is a part of Quran, and they're so adamant about it. And if you, try to tell them that no, it's not, and this is the, correct way, they give their own references. They bring out their own books. Like, this is clear. Quran is very clear. The Sunnah, the Hadiths are really clear, but they bring out their own books. Like, there's one book here, Fazaile Amal. I don't know if people know. There's one book here, like, it's called Fazaile Amal, and there are so many hadiths in it which are very weak, and people don't take that responsibility to go and find out the root and where it has been come from. No, they blindly follow it, and there are so many things into it. I've heard a couple of hadiths, even a common person, if they hear logically also, it makes no sense, but people actually believe them and follow it, and it's really, really painful when you even try to tell them and they don't, listen, and they just listen, they don't actually understand it. So it's really painful. And also recently, when I was traveling, I had been to Medina, Alhamdulillah, and it was such a shock, brother. I cannot explain you how I felt when I saw people. It was after the Asr Salah, when we were sitting there, and there was this family who were actually celebrating their mother's birthday. They were celebrating her birthday with the cake, and they were cutting the cake, and they were singing the birthday song and all those things. It was it was a horrible sight to see, because just the realization that you're there in front of, sorry.
It's okay, sister. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you, sister. Thank you for sharing. I think we make dua for all of our brothers and sisters.
We are actually there, and we are, like, breaking the rules, and we are not following his teachings. We are there in his place, and yet we are dishonoring him and disobeying him in front of the haram. It was very painful to see that.
I understand, sister. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you, and this shows your your approach, which is very filled with ihsan. This shows that, mashallah, your heart is very pure, sister. I would say, let's make dua for all brothers and sisters.
Yes.
Let's make dua for everybody. There's a lot of people that maybe intentionally, unintentionally, are doing things that are against the sunnah, that are not aware. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide them to the correct way. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to, and forbid us from making mistakes. I always think that we can guide people with our hearts and with our actions, and also sometimes we need to do it with our tongue, according to the teachings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Definitely, many people might be guided because they didn't wrong because they didn't have any good or sacred teachers that are connected to a sanad and a silsila. Others might not be aware, so we make dua for them, and inshallah, people will, by the guidance of Allah, reconnect with the authentic way of, following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And I think part of why we see these things is because I think what we need is to have, places where we can get sacred knowledge from teachers that are trained in, madrasas and in institutions that are, acknowledged by, majority of Muslims as places where you can receive sacred knowledge. I think that, and it's important to also understand the sociological reasons why people tend to be more culturally inclined today than spiritually inclined. I think there is so many sociological things that creates a void where people try to feel connection instead with a nation state or with culture rather than with religion. Nothing wrong with nation states and culture, by the way. Culture that is aligned with Quran and Sunnah is beautiful. Now, obviously, I'm not a big fan of nation states generally because I do believe in a khilafah ultimately. And I think that since the dismantling of the Ottoman Empire, we've been in a state of confusion for 100 years as Muslims. I believe these nation states generally, even though I think some of them serve their purposes, and I'm not here to question anyone or anybody or any entity. But nevertheless, during the Khilafah, then we had one language, one foundation, which was Quran and Sunnah. And then we allowed multiplexity and diversity that was aligned with Quran and Sunnah. And this is the Ottoman approach. And I think a lot of the references we have read in this beautiful book of Imam Dawud comes from references from a lot of Ottoman scholars. And inshallah, next book we're going to read together, brothers and sisters, I hope you guys are as excited as I am, is the book of Dr. Recep Şentürk, which is also one of our great scholars in Futuwwah and also in all Islamic sciences, one of the leading scholars in our world. I have the honor to have him as my own teacher, and he's also supporting the Futuwwah Academy of Sacred Manhood and Sacred Womanhood. And he uses a lot of references from the Futuwwah guilds in Anatolia during the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans were astonishing in many ways, and we have so much to learn and to be indebted to their contributions to human civilization. And I think since the dismantling of the Khilafah, we are now following culture more than religion, or we're following more nationalism or other, secular ideologies more than religion. But before that, we had a good balance between, religion and culture and ethnicity and racial differences and nationality in an amazing way. So we're not against nation states. We're not against the culture, but it should be, or we're not against ethnicity. We believe this is a barakah. It's the blessing of Allah who created us in different tribes and in different nations and in different ethnicities. But it should all be united in one, and that is Tawheed. And the dismantling of the Khilafah took away this universal connection that we had as one ummah under one, governance in a sense. So I think there's a lot of reasons why people go astray. We're all a reaction and a symptom of a society that is not healthy, and you can find it everywhere, even in front of the haram, as you said. And it's very disheartening. At the same time, we make dua for these brothers and sisters to learn, and we ask them to be, that good teachers will come to them, and that we can, guide them with ihsan and with akhlaq. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also allow us to see that we are all filled with shortcomings. That's part of the path of Futuwwah, that we're not better than others. We always need to start with our own introspection and muraqabah, because we all have so many. I am first and foremost filled with so many shortcomings, brothers and sisters. So I ask Allah to rectify me, purify me, and cover my shortcomings as well, and allow me to learn and strengthen myself towards my path. So these are all important questions. And I think the discussions are important to do with teachers that are grounded in our tradition, both in all of the Islamic sciences and also in Futuwwah, and that we do this with our hearts and souls. But it shows also the purity in your, Sister Asria, that you're so engaged that it hurts you when you see this in the city of the Prophet and his masjid, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So may Allah preserve you and your excellent family, inshallah. And we need to discuss, what is bid'ah? What is bid'ah hasana, by the way? Why I mention bid'ah hasana is because there is bid'ah hasana. Imam Shafi speaks about that. There are things that doesn't contradict Quran and Sunnah that we can utilize, right? And of course, we should always speak with our teachers that are trained. We cannot do that ijtihad ourselves as laypersons. Nevertheless, in communication with the fuqaha, there is. So for instance, how can we, utilize even good things in culture that are not contradicting Quran and Sunnah? That's what our traditional scholars did. When Imam Ghazali read the thoughts of the philosophers, he were questioning some philosophers who were not studying philosophy without grounding it in Quran and Sunnah. But he didn't say that you cannot study philosophy either. But you need to be mindful that things need to be in line with Quran and Sunnah. And he was critical to certain things, but not in all things. That's why I really think Imam Ghazali has a very balanced approach in the way he dealt with other traditions. And he was utilizing it according to the hadith of the Prophet, when the Prophet said that wisdom is the lost property of the believer. Wherever he finds it, he can use it. So in a sense, it's part of the sunnah as well. And it's to be mindful, not just to be a token that you just internalize everything without being mindful, but you shouldn't just reject everything either. And that's where Imam Dawud Walid speaks about the rigidity as well, that you cannot just reject everything, because there's a lot of good things that are not contradicting Quran and Sunnah, that is congruent with Quran and Sunnah, that you can utilize. So he said, for instance, in virtue ethics, you can study the Greeks. This is Imam Ghazali's view. And Ibn Miskawayh and Imam Ghazali, they speak about the golden mean, which is a thought that came from a lot of the Greek virtue scholars, and that it doesn't contradict Quran and Sunnah because the Prophet ﷺ speaks about balance being the way in your character development, mizan, the golden mean, you know. So it's this balanced approach that this book has allowed us to think about, and it's part of Futuwwah. It's about not just assimilating everything, because you can go astray and you can do things that are bid'ah, which is problematic, but at the same time, also to have a very balanced approach and not rejecting everything either, because there could be benefits in culture, different cultures, as long as it's aligned to Quran and Sunnah. I ask Allah to forgive us for our shortcomings, and Allah knows best, inshallah. I think we need to continue the reading a little bit, and then we can move forward. So with your permission, Sister Kafila, a very short comment before we continue to read. And thank you, Sister Asfia, for sharing your excellent remarks. You have contributed in such an amazing way to this Futuwwah Circles. We really appreciate it. Sister Kafila, go ahead.
And what I also want to add is, because we have scholars from all regions of the world, we have Greek scholars, we have all of them, provided they are on the right path, they are not mingling, because we know that philosophy has its own way of thinking, which might not necessarily go along with the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. But if we can have verified and confirmed, authentic scholars from these regions, like the Greeks, like some other cultures that we have in the world, and we are able to know that they are ingrained in Tawheed and the Quran and the Sunnah, we can always tap from their knowledge as well as the way they do their things there, because we know when we are talking about Islamic jurisprudence, we have the Quran, the Sunnah, the whole, the way people do in their end, in their culture, which does not contradict the Sunnah and the Quran. So I think that also can be added to the way we can, the broad perspective by which we can, the objectivity by which we can perceive the Quran, what we are doing generally.
Jazakallah khairan, sister, for your excellent remarks. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. One of my teachers told me, if we want to ask nasiha, with regards to, let's say, fiqh, also consult somebody in your country, in your region, because they might understand your context better than somebody from another region. So for instance, if you're from Nigeria or India, or if you're from Sweden, or if you're from the US, or if you're from Russia or South Africa, try to first and foremost consult scholars that are trained authentically, as what Sister Kafila mentioned, from your region, because they might understand your cultural context as well. So that's also a good reminder. Nevertheless, the Futuwwah Academy is going to be both universal. We're going to have shared common values and curriculum, but it's going to be tailored to your local context as well, because the situation might be different in, let's say, India, where Sister Asfia lives, compared to Sweden, where I am right now, or, I don't know, Sister Kafila, if you're in Nigeria or in the UK, etc. So we need to be mindful of that as well. Thank you both, Sister Asfia and Sister Kafila, for your excellent remarks. We appreciate it, and we agree with you guys. All right, let's continue the reading, inshallah. Let's go to page 143 here. Who would like to read?
Nobody's available. I am, brother.
All right. Go ahead, Brother Rashid. I love your encouragement, mashallah. May Allah bless you. Go ahead.
Okay. Of course, the revival of sacred manhood has a metaphysical component which must be connected to theology. Allah said in Surah Al-Imran, verse 36, وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنْثَى, and the male is not like the female. The Prophet said, to everything is a deeper reality. The difference between males and females goes beyond outward physiological distinctions, also including metaphysical realities. Unfortunately, many Muslims have been influenced by what secular materialists have proposed, explanations that attempt to reduce our understanding of humans to be evolved mammals that react to stimuli. The realities of both manhood and womanhood are based upon the natural inclination of primordial selves toward traits of spiritual majesty and spiritual beauty. The the incumbency for instruction in this topic, not just for youth, but even for many adults above the age of 40 that are thoroughly confused, must also be robustly and courageously taught.
Jazakallah khairan, dear Brother Rashid,
But
for reading such excellent way. This is a very important part of Imam Dawood's conclusion. He's been telling us the importance of studying with sacred and well-trained teachers. We cannot just take knowledge from whoever. It needs to be people that are trained in authentic places and spaces. But here he's also speaking about something which is so important, which is the realities of manhood and womanhood. That is something that is primordial in itself, fitri, right? And that distinguishes that is the big distinction between the Islamic way of looking at gender and sexuality compared with the secular way. So why is it important to counteract, dear brothers and sisters, biological and behavioral explanations of masculinity and femininity, and instead deal with it from a fitraic understanding of gender and gender roles and gender complementarity? Why is this important? And in that, I would like to add to our reflections that a lot of the behaviors and the behavior psychologists, as an example, they view gender as a result of conditioning, right? And environmental stimuli. So they minimized gender to something that is connected to learned behavior instead of innate realities, which is what Imam is speaking about here. That is the Islamic approach, the fitri approach. And this goes against the Islamic teachings and the metaphysical understanding and the spiritual understanding of manhood and womanhood, right? Where we as Muslims, we see gender as something divine and divinely rooted in spiritual and natural inclination, which is fitra, that we're all born in state of fitra, right? So why is it important for us to understand and counteract behavioral explanation of gender and instead instill the fitri understanding? Why, dear brothers and sisters, and how is it related to Futuwwah? Yes, Brother Rashid, go ahead.
okay, what I'd like to say that in the West, they'd like to say that the male is equal to the female in every respect, and they'd like to act in accordance with that. Whereas in Islam, we say that, yes, we agree that the male is equal to the female in every aspect, but Allah has created us with different roles. And that is why that particular ayah from the Quran in ayah 36 says, Laysa zakar wal unsa. The male is not like the female. In the West, for example, they'd like to make ladies do jobs which usually are done by males and vice versa. But in Islam, however, we have particular roles. Only a woman can give birth to a child. A man cannot do that. However, in the West, they'd like to make us believe that a man can do everything that a woman can do, and a woman can do everything that a man can do. Whereas in Islam, of course, there is a difference, and this is shown in various things, whether it's education or bring up the children or in working, etc. Jazakallah khairan.
Jazakallah khairan for your important reflections, Brother Rashid. I really appreciate it. Yes. And it's not only in the West. I understand what you mean. And yeah, I gained some constructive feedback from some brothers, and I appreciate that a lot, where they say we shouldn't say West, we should say secular or speak about ideologies, because we can find it in all parts of the world. Of course, mostly because of the Western culture and academical hegemony that is dominating us. But you're right in the sense that it's not about competing, it's about completing. And that's why we're establishing the Futuwwah Academy, dear brothers and sisters. And we're adding both sacred manhood and sacred womanhood, right? Because we complete one another. We don't compete with one another. We need each other mutually. We need women as men, and women need men as women, right? This is very important. And we need to have that. It's about completing. It's not about competing. Certain things we have in common and our common goals and roles. Certain things are different based upon our fitra, things that are fitri to us, connected to our gender, which is the primordial nature that Imam Dawud speaks about, and that we complement each other, you know. And it's about equity. It's not about that everything needs to be the same or equal. Equity is different because, yes, we have human rights that are equal, but then Allah has created us different as well, and that's beautiful. That's part of the divine notions of creation. Yes, Sister Amber, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much.
Alaikum
I'm
salam.
really, really happy with what you just said and how you kind of like, just defined the West also, because I have a huge problem, and apologies, I don't mean to upset anyone, but we need to really be careful how we phrase things and how we say things, because it comes as in like, we're judging the other societies. We need to just look into our own societies. We need to just look into our own cultures, into our own selves, into our own, whatever backgrounds we are, whether it's Asian or African or whatever it is, and Muslim, different countries, different regions that we all spread. And we need to say where we're failing and where we need to learn. So chivalry, when I got to know about this, Brother Jamal, that, you're doing this, I was so excited about it. Obviously not knowing more about the book, not knowing more about the background. I've just come literally last in the middle, and I don't know more about Islam. I'm learning. I am a student of Islam and teaching. I'm learning from many different ways. I am entering in 50s. So every part of few years, through my children or through my different experiences, or people are coming in my life, or what I'm learning through these different charitable organizations, I'm learning and I'm adapting and I'm learning to become a better person. A lot of things that we talk about, in this book, or in general, we've been talking about, these are not difficult things. Chivalry is being nice, being caring, being kind to each other. And what the beautiful thing is that we have these books that define these things from the Sunnah, prospect, or from the other prospect, which is beautiful because we have those examples that we can use those examples. But these are not difficult things. But in our cultures, we have a lot of things that simple thing could be very difficult. Being caring, being nice. It's very, very difficult in our society, in our cultures. And we often talk about West, that they're not doing this, or the Western societies have different roles, but they also have the very good things in the societies. A husband would have no problem of helping his wife into a household work, and where wife is also going and working outside, she also possibly would help him with the day-to-day other different tasks, which is actually what Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam also did. He used to sew his own clothes. He used to help his wife his household chores. It doesn't make him of a lesser of a man, actually. It's more of a man in my eyes, actually. It's a true essence of a man who realizes, who sees around him, and actually it's just offered to help with the smile, with kindness. It just goes far, far, far more, way, and it has the impact and the kindness that grows. And you just don't forget these smaller things in life. So I'm really, really happy that actually you actually said those things. And I think we need to just look within ourselves, how we can help each other, how we can improve, how we don't really judge each other, how we take the goodness from the other cultures and make it more bigger thing within our own societies to help, because God knows it, we all need help.
Jazakallah khairan, Sister Amber, for your excellent remarks. We really appreciate it. It's been such an honor to have you with us and learn from your experiences and expertise. And yes, indeed, I think a lot of culture could be good in the West also. There's not only toxic culture here. I live in Sweden. I love Sweden. I don't love everything with it for sure, but I do love a lot of things with it. And I'm also, I'm Persian, Turk, and Arab, and I love a lot of things with my background as a Persian, Turk, and Arab. And it's not everything that is good in our cultures, whether you live in Middle East or whether you live in, Southeast Asia or in South America. There are good and bad everywhere. But our benchmark is Quran and Sunnah, as you said. And the Quran and Sunnah allows, as you said, the Prophet sold his clothes. Of course, a man can do that. And this, we need to redefine by reviving Futuwwah, because then we can understand what is the role of the man? What is the role of the woman? Which things do we have in common? Which things are different? And that we cherish the differences as the beauty of Allah's creation and Allah's demands on us. And at the same time, we can see the beautiful aspects of the Sunnah, which can be seen in so many beautiful ways, in the way that the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet is the person we follow. Because the Prophet, according to the Futuwwah tradition, is seen as the perfected man, the perfected human, insan al-kamil, the perfected man. In that he was in perfect balance with all of his emotional states, all of his traits, all of his character. Didn't have any flaws. He was perfect. For us, he was also human. Because the Christians, they make Jesus into God, astaghfirullah azim. Our Prophet is a human, even though he was perfect. He was perfected, right? So we can relate to him because he was a human, even though he was on highest maqam and spiritual state. He was insan al-kamil. And that allows Islam to be something that is natural to your fitrah. It's human. It's for the human to relate to, right? And then we can also take a lot of the thoughts from many of the scholars of Futuwwah and Islamic thought, Islamic sciences, and also tasawwuf, for instance, and the akhlaq tradition. So, for instance, Rumi, he speaks about insan and insan al-kabir. Insan is the human, insan al-kabir is the greater human. What is the greater human according to this metaphor? The universe. Insan al-kabir is the universe, macrocosmo, and insan is microcosmo. It's the human, it's the man and the woman, right? And that there is a connection between the macro and the micro, the zahir and the batin. And this is a connection where connects all of us to all parts of creation as a holistic understanding that you need the tree in order to survive because it gives you shade and fruits. And the tree needs you so that you can cultivate it. We're in mutual need of each other as men and women. And in that cultures, there are beauty in all cultures. You just need to filter it according to Qur'an and Sunnah. And this is what our teacher says. This is what Imam Dawud is giving us information in this book. Also, if you look at, for instance, the scholars of the Islamization and knowledge movement, Sayyid Naqib al-Attas, Ismail Farouk, may Allah preserve all these amazing scholars. They spoke about Islamization of knowledge, that there is wisdom in all traditions, but you need to filter it according to Qur'an and Sunnah so that it doesn't contradict our teachings. And in that, there is good and bad everywhere. Even in the West, there is a lot of good things, as you said, sister, rightfully so. I find a lot of good things in Sweden, We have universal healthcare in Sweden, which is an Islamic thing, It's free education, which is an Islamic thing. But then there's bad things in the West, and there's good and bad things in the East or South and North. May Allah allow us to learn and to grow and to always have good akhlaq, adab, and also to communicate differences and what we have in common with akhlaq and unity, which you did in such an amazing way, Sister Amber. Thank you so much. We don't have a lot of time left, dear brothers and sisters. So with your permission, I will read the last parts because I know we have only 5 minutes left, and then we will do a short summary, and then we will continue with some information, and then we will end for today, inshallah. Thank you once more, Sister Amber, for your excellent remarks. All right, and thank you, Brother Rashid, for excellent remarks. So it is my belief, all right, it is my belief that Futuwwah guilds needs to be established in all localities in which Muslims reside in significant numbers. The Boy Scouts of America, though it has some beneficial aspects, should not be our go-to organization for renewing sacred manhood. For one, the Boy Scouts is not centered around organized religious beliefs which are incontrovertible, that the Boy Scouts now allow quote-unquote gender-neutral scouts in and of itself introduces a serious problem into gatherings that purport to instill ethics and cultivate brotherhood. Another point is that manner taught by the Boy Scouts are deficient in comparison to the comportment that we should strive to embody and teach, which is the way of the Prophet ﷺ that has been transmitted and survives today amongst the saints and the righteous. Muslims have the responsibility of forming our own guilds and lodges based upon our own tradition instead of seeking to be led by others. This in and of itself is part of reviving sacred manhood. Futuwwah guilds can look slightly different based upon their locations and demographics, but should have some common components such as, so here Imam Dawud says we should have unity. That's why we're building a joint curriculum of Futuwwah within the Futuwwah Academy, but at the same time, it should be tailored to your local context and culture as well. And then he says about the common components could be such as 1, structured circles with upright teachers through which young males can learn comportment and spiritual purification. So we need to have structured halaqah like the one that we have here in this Futuwwah Academy study circles. And then we need to also study with sacred and upright teachers that have, studied in sacred places that are accepted, and learn through that comportment and spiritual purification and tazkiyah. 2, different rankings within the guilds, such that there are rites of passage before members can move on to the next phases. So that you have different roles and you need to achieve different levels in your character development in order to gain a new role. So that this can be done with rites of passages, which instills action and creativity and also dedication to actually bring yourself to a higher spiritual state. Young males who graduate to their next level should be paired off to be peer mentors for those who are younger. So we need peer-to-peer support groups. I saw this while in Dogon country, Mali, in which young males were taken to a special area and taught manliness, after which they came back to their villages, recognized as young men with greater responsibilities within society. So in many traditions, in many countries like Mali, or, I'm sure it's the same in, Pakistan, India, etc., Egypt, you teach the males what is manliness. And they have rites of passages where they need to survive or they need to master certain tasks in order to become men. And that's something we want to instill in our Futuwwah Academy, inshallah, by the guidance of Imam Dawud. Number 3, group physical activities to instill discipline and establish a sense of brotherhood. This should include teaching martial arts and archery within the guilds. And when possible, this should also include the aspect of learning how to hunt and skin animals such as deer according to Sharia and Islamic law. So within the Futuwwah Academy, one of the 5 elements, according to Imam Dawud, is Sunnah disciplines, sacred archery, running, swimming, grappling, as a way to connect your body to something higher and build your physical compartments so that you can be a fighter, a spiritual warrior, both fighting your nafs inside and outside. So this is very important. I had the honor to speak with a brother from Japan who knows a brother who is a Muslim convert who is a master of the samurai art. Imagine taking a lot of the Japanese martial arts into the Futuwwah curriculum and into the Futuwwah academies and filter them according to Qur'an and Sunnah so we can utilize them. There is so much wisdom in these martial arts. There is so much wisdom in samurai's ethics or Aikido or karate that we can utilize, inshallah. And of course, the most sacred is the Sunnah disciplines, which is, for instance, grappling. Number 4, organize activities of weekly community service, such as helping the elderly, delivering food boxes to the poor, shoveling snow for widows. How can we help single mothers to help them with raising their boys, for instance, through group activities? They can send their boys to the Futuwwah academies and guilds. How can we do khidmah to those who are feeling lonely? How can we create soup kitchens where we can share food for those that are in need? This will be part of the Futuwwah Academy as well, inshallah. Besides these aspects, some localities may wish to organize artisan skills or crafts that can be taught so that young men can have a way to make some income for themselves, that they are not exclusively dependent on others giving them jobs. This was an aspect of the Futuwwah guilds during the era of the Abbasid Khalifa al-Nasir al-Din Allah. And this is very important. In order to become a responsible citizen, a responsible man, to become a man, you need to become a breadwinner. You need to have skills, you need to have skills that could give you a job. You need to study, right? You need to learn a craft. So we want to add that as one of the elements in the Futuwwah Academy so that we can help a lot of males and females, by the way, to learn crafts. And a lot of men can become breadwinners then by building their own businesses, working with tijara and entrepreneurship, etc. This is very important because the unemployment rates amongst Muslims, in particular Muslim men, is so high in so many countries around the world. So this is very important to bring as part of the Futuwwah Academy curricula and the Futuwwah guilds that we want to revive. And then finally, Imam Dawud Walid says, Approximately 3 years ago, a group of brothers in Detroit, Michigan, known as the Ansar Collective, began Futuwwah sessions teaching the Kitab al-Futuwwah by Imam al-Sulami, which expanded into opportunities for regular community service along with weekly martial arts classes. The Ansar Collective, which is composed of Imam Salim Khalid, who is our elder and leader, Sheikh Abdul Karim Yahya, Sheikh Kefani Sisay, Imam Saifullah Shakur, Ustad Shakir Bakari Williams, Brother Jermaine Carey, Brother Khalil Muminu, Brother Jabril Ahmed, and Imam Dawood, started these sessions at Darul Rahma Zawiya in Detroit. May Allah preserve all these amazing scholars and brothers. The gatherings, which are a multi-ethnic and intergenerational, have served as a platform for younger brothers to discuss sensitive topics in male-only spaces in which we operate from the principle of what is said in gatherings stays in those gatherings. So we need to, within the Futuwwah Academy, both have mixed initiatives like these study circles, of course, according to Qur'an and Sunnah, but we should also have spaces only for men and only for women where we can speak different sensitive topics. So I highly encourage all of the sisters here to create now within the Futuwwah Academy groups only for sisters, and we as brothers will do the same, inshallah. And we will all instill the essence of Futuwwah. And we can take a lot of knowledge from a lot of Futuwwah initiatives that we as Futuwwah Academy will collaborate with, including the amazing work they're doing in Detroit with Ansar Collective and many other great initiatives around the world. And then also everything that says here stays here, right? Through the relationship of Sheikh Abdul Karim Yahya with Sheikh Ibrahim Osi Efa, who has also studied in Tarim, Yemen, we have also been kept abreast of the noble efforts of our brothers in Futuwwah initiatives in Peterborough, England. We also know of a few other groups, including the Karima Foundation in England, that are involved in the noble on the war. And I had the honor, dear brothers and sisters, to meet a lot of the scholars in Karima Foundation. They're doing an amazing job. And also Sheikh Ibrahim, he's one of the great scholars of Futuwwah. He studied in Tarim with Habib Omar. And he is an amazing scholar. For many years, he has done Futuwwah retreats in Turkey, in Istanbul, and he's doing a lot of Futuwwah initiatives in Liverpool as well, in England. So we will, inshallah, work and collaborate with all these amazing initiatives and bring all these scholars with us, inshallah. It is my hope that in addition to this book being a simple resource, it may add to the spark for a movement to reestablish Futuwwah amongst our young men that was lit a few years ago with the resurrection of Ertugrul, a Turkish television series which clearly showed aspects of Islamic chivalry and sacred manhood without explicitly using the term Futuwwah. Perhaps we may even one day establish an international networks of guilds and lodges based upon restoring sacred manhood through the grace of Allah Azza wa Jal. And that is exactly why we're establishing the Futuwwah Academy of Sacred Manhood and Sacred Womanhood, according to the teachings of Imam Dawud Walid and the Nasi of Imam Dawud Walid, as a way to unite all of us all around the world to revive Futuwwah and the Futuwwah guilds through our local Futuwwah academies. We really appreciate all the Futuwwah initiatives all over the world. We want to thank all of our brothers in Detroit and England, all these amazing work, and we will inshallah learn from them, support them, and collaborate with them. And in places where we don't have any Futuwwah initiatives, we will going to establish Futuwwah academies. We're going to create a unique umbrella as Futuwwah Academy, uniting local initiatives all over the world. And our plan is, dear brothers and sisters, and let me stop sharing my screen, to essentially once a year have Futuwwah gatherings, Futuwwah jamborees, where brothers and sisters join from all over the world, using the same attire, the same foundational understanding of what is sacred manhood and sacred womanhood, and connect and learn through teachings, studies, lectures, and workshops, inshallah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless Imam Dawud Walid. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of our scholars in our tradition and in our contemporary era. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of the Futuwwah initiatives all over the world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you, my beloved brothers and sisters, for joining the Futuwwah Study Circle for over 4 months. May Allah accept all of your khidmah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept giving out of your precious time. All of your reflections has been so crucial and so beneficial for all of us. And once more, I want to thank Sister Fatima, Brother Shoaib, Sister Mediha, Sister Dania, Sister Fatima, Brother Ahmed, Brother Muhammad, Brother Ibrahim, and many other brothers and sisters within ISIP, the International Students of Islamic Psychology, and the Futuwwah Academy of Sacred Manhood and Womanhood for the amazing work you guys are doing. Please forgive me for any shortcomings, dear brothers and sisters, as your brother and as your khadim, inshallah. As I always say, I'm a person with a lot of errors in my character. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that. And if anything good comes from me, it's from Allah and from all of my teachers. I'm just a student of knowledge like all of you. I learned so much by all of you. And inshallah, may Allah unite us both in dunya and akhirah, inshallah. Before we end, dear brothers and sisters, I want us to discuss how we move forward. I have some good things to announce to all of you, dear brothers and sisters. We will continue the Futuwwah Study Circle. The next book will be the book of Dr. Recep Şentürk. We will start the Futuwwah Circle again, hopefully within 4 to 8 weeks, okay? Within 1 to 2 months. Either after Ramadan, probably we will start again, because during Ramadan, everybody has different time zone, different iftar time, different times for Taraweeh, etc. Nevertheless, after Ramadan, we will start reading Dr. Recep Şentürk's book. It's also one of the foundational books, and Dr. Recep is one of the great scholars of our tradition. After that, we're going to read Imam Sulami's book, which is one traditional manuscript of Futuwwah, which is called Al-Kitab al-Futuwwah, inshallah. So we're going to continue our reading. It's going to be reading, hopefully it will be weekly readings or bi-weekly readings. We haven't decided yet. We will announce this as soon as possible. The timing might change, brothers and sisters. A lot of brothers and sisters were asking us to do it on Saturdays. Some asked to do it during the weekdays because a lot of people are very busy during the week. And also Saturdays is the day when both Muslim countries and non-Muslim countries are off. So a lot of brothers and sisters from majority Muslim countries cannot join during Sunday. So we're going to be mindful of the different needs. We might put some polls in the WhatsApp group so that we will get your input on which timings and which days will be good for all of you. We will open up the group for discussions within 5 to 10 minutes. We will appreciate all of your inputs, dear brothers and sisters. And today, I really want all of us to engage in the discussions, because now we're going to discuss how are we going to move forward? Which projects should we implement? And I really want you guys to join the curriculum task force if you want to develop the curriculum with us. The Futuwwah Academy can be established in your country, in your city. So please join and we will help you. We will give you the curriculum. And when it's done, we're going to give you a startup kit and how you can build the Futuwwah Academy there and revive the Futuwwah guilds. We need to have access to sacred scholars and also practitioners of the different Sunnah disciplines. So we will help you guys with that. Who can do the archery? Who can do the grappling? And also we add the sacred womanhood, brothers and sisters, because we see that as inevitable. So we need to create certain curriculums that are tailored specifically for sisters and for girls and for females and women, you know. So we need your inputs, dear sisters, in that, both to take the stories of the female Sahabis and the mothers of the believers, but also what is the unique things that are only tailored for women and men, and some things that we can do both, of course, according to Qur'an and Sunnah. So we would love to have your inputs, dear sisters. Your inputs will be very appreciated. And we can even bring in female scholars to teach with regards to sacred womanhood, for instance. That will be something important. So there's a lot of ideas. We want to create social media presence. We're going to soon introduce our website. This is going to be announced in 2 to 3 months, and we're going to do an inaugural ceremony and an event, which I really appreciate if you can join. We will invite some of the scholars like Imam Dawud and Dr. Recep to join as well and share their knowledge. So there's a lot of things going on. So do you guys have any questions on how you guys want to activate yourself? Do you have any other final remarks before we end, brothers and sisters? The floor is yours. Yes, Sister Kafila, we will do our best to provide the book to you, inshallah, as a digital copy. As I mentioned, I'm still in communication with the book publishing house, Imam Ghazali Institute. They're doing an amazing job about partnering with them with regards to that. Any questions or thoughts, dear brothers and sisters, before we end? Are you guys excited about the next steps? Brother Rashid is right, and I agree that it's better to use the word secular instead of Western. Yes, indeed, Brother Rashid. Jazakallah khairan. Sister Zahira is writing, is chivalry only means doing good between husband and wife only? No, chivalry is about everything in life. It's a holistic understanding of how you act chivalrous, how you are, honorable in your character, how you're noble and sacred. May Allah make it easy for you, Sister Zahira. Sister Hadid is sharing Karima Foundation site. They're an amazing organization. I really recommend you guys to follow their amazing work. Thank you, Brother Ahmed. Jazakallah khairan for your great remarks. Sister Arinola, Sister Kafila, thank you for everything. You guys are excellent. Sister Asfia is saying yes. Sister Fatima is very excited. Sister Hadid is very excited. Sister Yusuf, Brother Yusuf is writing, can older men join the guilds? Yes, of course. It's intergenerational. This is both for young and old. The prophetic way is intergenerational. The first person who gave a space for the Prophet ﷺ to give halaqah, study, to teach through halaqahs was Al-Arqam. He was maybe 15, 16 when he offered his home for the first halaqahs of the Prophet ﷺ. So definitely it's intergenerational. And if so, will they be able to go through the whole process that they may have missed out themselves when they were becoming men? Yes. Yes. Yes, Brother Yusuf. Yes. So definitely. And please join us, Brother Yusuf. It will be such an honor to have you all with us. Brother Rashid is saying, yes, he's excited. Sister Kafila is very excited. There were some subgroup opinion polls. Yes, we will add the polls again. I will ask Sister Fatima and Sister Dania to put the polls again, and then we will bring you guys to different task forces. We need some more project managers, dear brothers and sisters. And for all of you who are watching through our YouTube channel, please contact us at contact@futuwwah.academy or contact@isip.foundation. We will love to work with you guys, collaborate with you guys, and bring you guys to the movement. We need more project managers that could work with different tasks and implement them, and also organization committee members and members generally. Brother Tahir is writing, we should catch up, brother, as I am in Sweden. Yes, Brother Tahir, we live in the same city, so let's meet, inshallah, because we're establishing the Futuwwah Academy in a place here in Sweden, which is like a guild that we're going to build. It's a Muslim-owned space, so it will be an honor to have you with us. So the contact is contact@isip.foundation is the email that we use. Let me just put it there. Yeah. Okay. And then we're building our website. Our website will be futuwwah.academy. So inshallah, that will be great. And we're establishing Futuwwah Academy in South Africa. So Brother Rashid, I will connect you with them in India, in Pakistan, in Turkey, in Sweden, in Australia, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, and wherever you guys are, we will do something, inshallah. So there is a lot of things going on. Any final remarks, dear brothers and sisters? And so if not, I want to thank you all for joining us. It's been such an honor to be at your service. I learned a lot from listening to all of you. Thank you, Sister Fatima, Brother Ahmed, Sister Amber, Sister Arinola, Sister Asfia, Dr. Bibi Jan, Sister Iman, Sister Hadil, Sister Kafila, Sister Mahmouda, Brother Rashid, Sister Rokshana, Sister Shabina, Sister Shakila, Sister Saida Shagufta, Brother Tahir, Sister Safura, Brother Yusuf, Brother Rashid, Sister Zahira, and Sister Zubayda, and all others who joined previously, all of you who are listening through our YouTube channel, all of you in the WhatsApp group and in our newsletter. It's been such a joy to learn from you all. Please make dua for Imam Dawud for the amazing work he's doing. I love him for the sake of Allah. We should always love our teachers. He's one of the leading scholars in the reviving of Futuwwah into our contemporary era. We're forever indebted to him. We want to thank him for his generosity to allow us to read the book. He sends his salams to all of you. He just did an interview on the Thinking Muslim YouTube channel. I will share it in the WhatsApp group where he speaks about the Futuwwah Academy as one of the great initiatives in the Futuwwah revivaling movement. And this is thanks to all of your contribution, dear brothers and sisters. You guys are the Futuwwah Academy. It's your movement, it's your organization. And I'm very proud and honored to learn and to be with all of you, inshallah. So let's continue chatting. Let's utilize the WhatsApp group. I will open it up now and continue the conversation, and we will add polls on how you guys can join our different task forces. Without any further ado, I wish you all a great continuation of the day. We will start again the study circle. For hopefully after Ramadan, we will do a new marketing material, new poster. So register yourself again, but we will use the same WhatsApp group. So all of you part of the WhatsApp group, it will be the same. It will be announced there. And then other channels that we have as Futuwwah Academy and as ISIP, the International Students of Islamic Psychology. And we will read the book of Dr. Rajab, and inshallah, he will join us for the opening. Hopefully, we will ask him to join us, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan, everybody. I wish you all a great continuation of the day. It's been an honor to be with you all. And please forgive us for any shortcomings and make dua for us. And you will be in our du'as as well. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The name of the new book, Sister Shabina, will be, it's called Futuwwah. It's written by Dr. Rajab Shenter. We will add all the links to how you can purchase the book on the WhatsApp group and through the registration link that we will create, inshallah. It exists as a soft copy and as a digital copy as well. You can purchase it through the Usul Academy. Usul Academy, which is one of the great academies in our world today. There's this where you can study like Alim programs, and many other things, inshallah. And they do like a Futuwwah program every summer with Dr. Rajab and other excellent scholars. So we will partner with them, inshallah. Yeah, Sister Hadila studied there, by the way. I know that, mashallah. May Allah bless you, Sister Hadila. It's been an honor to have you with us.